Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Well, I was able to get a little bit of work done in the garage, but got to keep the missus happy, so back to working on the house here. And today I'm going to finish a repair that I started a long time ago. I do tend to get distracted on my projects, get them mostly done, and then move on to something else. So let's get something finished around here. Let me show you what we're working on today. Hey, look at that. Got a hole in the wall. So this is the back of our, well, there we go, we dropped the light. We'll edit that out post-production. No, you know I won't. We're looking at the back of the bathroom here. So this is the shower. The line's going up to feed the shower. And this is the bathtub, the spout going into the bathtub. This was leaking, and I replaced this fitting with a shark bite fitting. If you look there, these are pretty interesting fittings. They are just push them in and they seal. Very easy actually. But in order to access this, of course I had to cut this hole. So now I have to close this off. And then I have to see if I have any of this blue paint, which we probably don't. But the first thing I need to do, it looks like, is there's a nail here. I'm gonna pull that nail out, and then I'm gonna show you how we are going to fix this. Unfortunately, I still have the pieces, so we're just gonna reutilize those. And I'll show you how we do that. It's pretty easy. Let me go get my tools, and we'll be right back in here. Now when I cut this open to get access to that elbow there, I wasn't sure exactly where it was, so I estimated and I went around it a couple inches each direction. As you can see, I got pretty close. This is close to the center. Now, I did run into that stud, which is good and bad. If I was putting up new drywall, at least I'd have one place to anchor it, but here's the issue. When you do a patch like this, you need some way to hold this drywall because, I'm holding this with one hand. There's nothing holding that side, see what I'm saying? Even though I could screw into this other centerpiece here. Actually, I got this backwards. There we go, that looks better. So I could put some screws right there, but that's just gonna fall in there. So what you do, if you make a patch like this, is you get yourself a board, and then you cut it. I'm gonna set that up there. You cut it a couple inches longer than this hole. So this one I'm going to cut it about 2 or 3 inches longer on each end of this hole, and then I'm going to feed it up in here and feed it down and screw it in. I'll show you how we do that in just a minute after I cut it. And then I'll have something for this side to attach on, and then it will attach right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to get a little board, put it there. So let me make a cut here and see what we got. I got pretty fortunate. I had a scrap of wood that was exactly big enough to use for 2 of these. So I've cut it, and let me show you what I was talking about. I'll try to get it in here and show you. So there you go. You put it inside. See that? In. Now, if you're dealing with a very, very small, let's say you only cut that big of a piece of drywall, that's going to be a lot more difficult to do. But I've seen people even use like paint sticks, stir sticks, and they're a little bit flexible, so you could get them in there. Let me see if I can set this camera up in a place where y'all can kind of see what's going on. I'll try to work around it a little bit here. just put that until I start to feel it punching through. Put this over here. Don't worry about that. See, this is an old house. It's kind of got plaster over this drywall, so we're gonna fix all that. And one on the bottom. Might even have to go in a little bit more to be flush. There we go. Okay. Now, this piece has something to screw to there and something to screw to here. So let me get this other side in, and then we'll install these scrap pieces. I got the right side in, and then I set this piece in here. And as you can see, more of this kind of plastery crap fell off, but we can fill all that in. Everything is going to get filled in. We'll put this one on. And now I just put 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4 in each of these. So 8 more screws, and then we're going to start doing the drywall repair. Let me hold that up with my foot. There you go. Perfect. Well, we got our pieces back up here. A lot of this plaster, like I said, fell out. You see this house has got this thin drywall and then some plaster over it, which is almost about as thick as my finger. So we got some filling in to do. But the parts are back up there. Now, let me go get my drywall goodies and we will start our first coat. Oh, once again, kind of like my bathroom project, I'm working in kind of a small area here. And it doesn't condone itself that well to taking a video, but we're going to do our best. So if you ever done drywall, you know wherever you have 2 seams meet, you want to use drywall tape. Now, I have this kind of drywall tape, and I have this kind here. And I've been using this kind a lot more lately, and I'm really liking it. And once again, we got my all-purpose joint compound. So before I put the tape on, I'm going to fill these bigger areas in a little bit with some of this joint compound, because it'd be silly to put the tape over that and then have a big open area behind it. The thing with this stuff is when it dries, it shrinks a little bit. So it still will have a space behind it, but it won't be nearly as bad as it would have been, I guess. That's my theory anyway. Definitely not a drywall expert. I know just enough where I can make it look okay. And that's about it. But the thing with drywall is you can keep going until you get it right. I think I mentioned it before. The experts will come in and maybe put 1 or 2 coats, whereas the rookies among us are going to have to probably put 3 or 4 coats. Just might as well pull that piece out, it's loose. Put a little bit in here first. some on that edge of the knife. Oh, like the metal on the edge of a knife. Yeah, I listened to Meatloaf the other day. That sounds good for dinner too. That's one of my habits, so if I make meatloaf, I listen to Meatloaf. Oh well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. All right, and you want your tape to be centered on your joint. I'll do this one. Look at how much that's already sunk in there. I'll put a little bit more in there for good times. For a good time call. All right. And we'll do the other edge here. Just use the knife to rip it good. One across the top here. One thing I don't like about this tape. Sometimes you get these extra little strings, and then what are you going to do with them? You leave a mess everywhere. One across the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now I can put a light skim coat over this tape, and then we'll let it dry. It's supposed to be 24 hours. 24 hours is supposed to dry, and then you can sand it. This wall hasn't got a traditional style spackling on it, so I'm going to have to just get creative in texturing this. And since it's in the closet, once again, I got lucky on not having to do make it look ridiculously presentable. Now, how you do your own things is up to you, but how crazy do you want to get on making your closet look good? Yeah, here's that area where there was a lot of mud in there. See that? Might actually have to push that in a little bit. There you go. Push some of that out. Make a low spot first. Same with over here. Every time I do it, I'm learning something. Of course, if I knew what the hell I was doing, I wouldn't have to learn every time. But how much fun would that be? Just don't be afraid to try stuff, you know? I don't know how much it would cost to have a handyman come in and do this. But I'm sure it'd be $100, probably minimum. I don't know about you, but I like to have a $100 bill in my pocket. There we go. We're going to call that good for coat number 1. And we'll let that dry. Come in and sand it. Got a lot of cleaning to do here. And we'll see how it looks. It's been about 24 hours or so. Everything has dried up on this first coat of joint compound. And I hit it all with the sanding block. Just knocked down the high spots. And now we got to put another coat over it. So we got to try to get extra wide. And I might use this bad boy here. You got to just put a very light coat over it. But that's the one thing that myself, as an amateur, I'm not good at getting a nice even light coat on there. So this is kind of an art form. Some people are really good at it, others not so much, like myself. Maybe I put too much on, I don't know. I know a lot of it has to do with patience. So if you're not a patient person, you might not do well at this. But the good thing about drywall is you can sand it down and reapply. The key is to try to get an even coat and overlap where the tape is at so you can kind of blend it in. So you got to go light well beyond where you taped. A couple inches below, a couple inches above. And then when it dries, then you can taper it all in. The hardest part in the whole thing for me is waiting for it to dry, because I really wish it would dry quicker. And I could sand it and apply another skim coat on here. But you gotta let it dry completely before you start sanding, otherwise you're just gonna make a big mess of the whole thing. And it's already enough of a mess when I'm working on it, so. I can already see these areas where this tape is at on the top are going to be problematic for me. Like I said, I tend to get a little bit impatient on it. Maybe I put more compound on here than I need to, and then I got a lot of sanding to do. I don't know. I just kind of learned how to do this on my own. So I'm sure I have a lot of bad techniques, but I can make it work. There we go. Let's get in there and take a peek at it. This one probably not gonna be too bad. I need to clean up this up here a little bit. It's just gonna be sanded off anyway, so let's see if we can't. There we go. Knock it down now. Same with this right here. Well, I think once I sand this down, I'm gonna put some primer on it and take a peek at it and see what it looks like. I went out in our shed where I got all the paint for all the different rooms in the house, and guess which one I don't have? This color here. So that means that this area is going to be primed one color and the rest of the room is going to be a different color. Fortunately, it's in the closet, and I'm gonna just put some stuff in front of it, and once we get to painting this room again, it will all be the same color at that point, but until then, it's gonna just be like this. So here's the finished product after the skim coat I put on it. You can still see, hopefully you can pick that out with the light here, so you can still see there's some low spots, and you can kind of see that mesh through there. So I'm gonna have to put one more small skim coat on it. Yeah, this mesh is kind of coming through. So I'm gonna have to put another small skim coat on it and then sand it again and then prime it. But it's blended out pretty good out to here on the edges. So I'm not too concerned about that. I just have to get these low spots filled in. So you already know the drill. This time around I am going to use this wide trowel here because I'm going to be able to put a much nicer thin coat on there. But you've already seen this. Well, you haven't seen me use this one, but it's the same idea. We'll fast forward to the hopefully completed product. This little magnet light here, it's been extremely helpful on this job. So this is after the skim coat I put on with the extra wide trowel. You can see I got it on there a lot smoother. So this is what it looks like before I sand it. I'm going to sand it down here and we'll come back to it and I'll show you what it looks like. And here we are after about 5 minutes of sanding. I don't know how well you can see it. I've knocked all the high spots down. Made a crap load of dust. Look at it all down here. So we're going to clean this up and I am going to grab the primer and we'll see what it looks like when it's primed, because that's going to really show if there's any issues here. And I think right here I'll put a happy little tree. Happy little tree. There we go. Happy little trees. That's find your calm in your happy little trees. I don't know. I'm not really channeling Bob Ross here too well today, but you know, you just do you. I masked this thing off a bit. I'll show you where I'm at. I masked it off so we can just have a nice square of white since, here we're gonna do the brush. Ooh, brush cam, look at that. Pretty exciting stuff. Right down to the drywall texture. Now this stuff soaks up the paint, this drywall stuff, so you're gonna wanna put a couple coats of primer on it maybe, or a coat of primer and a coat of paint. Let me finish this up and we'll come back to it when it's done. There it is, patched and primered You can still see the blue paint through there, but that's okay. Gonna see what we can do about trying to find a match for this blue paint. No idea if we have it written down somewhere. But if you have multiple colors in your home, that's probably a pretty good idea. Put it somewhere so that you don't forget. I don't know how long it's been since we painted this room, but we definitely do not have any additional paint. I looked in the paint supply. Sorry about the shadows here. And a little bit of light on the subject. You can definitely tell where the patch is, mostly because it's smoother than the remaining wall. See the kind of texturing down there and the lack of texturing where the repair is at. And then there's some texturing up here. And this line right here is from an old closet system that was in here. But it's the corner of the closet, and it's going to have some, here, I'll fix this. I'll fix this right now, hang on. Here we go, problem solved. There we go. Voila. So drywall repair. It's not terribly difficult, but you do need to take your time at it. Sand, reapply, and then if you have texture, try to match the texture. So, thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.